The narrative unfolds with Siri, a formidable and ambitious entrepreneur at the helm of a major fashion empire. In a sleek corporate office, she presides over a meeting where her staff proudly displays a curated collection of photographs featuring Siri alongside an array of celebrities and influential public figures. These images are not mere mementos but a calculated and central component of her brand's marketing strategy, designed to cement her status as an icon of success and glamour. This self-promotional campaign, however, draws sharp disapproval from her family. A phone call from her older brother, Hong, interrupts her professional facade. He voices stern objections, arguing that her relentless public posturing is tarnishing not only her personal reputation, but also bringing unwanted scrutiny upon their entire family. He delivers a further piece of seismic news: their father has recently been released from prison. Hong warns that her continued behavior could deeply upset their father during this fragile period of reintegration. Siri, characteristically defiant and dismissive of familial constraints, ignores her brother's pleas, terminates the call, and blocks his number, effectively severing that line of critique. The family dynamics deepen at a subsequent dinner gathering convened by the recently freed patriarch. Seated around the table are Siri's mother, her two brothers, Hong and the eldest, along with their respective wives. The meal becomes an arena for subtle power plays, as Hong deliberately highlights the professional failures of their eldest brother within the family company, a transparent attempt to undermine him in their father's eyes and curry favor. The tense atmosphere is suddenly electrified by an unexpected arrival. Siri herself, having voluntarily estranged herself from the family for a full decade, her presence at the ancestral home is profoundly shocking to all assembled. The astonishment amplifies when the father reveals he was the one who summoned her. He then delivers an even more staggering declaration. Announcing his retirement from active business life, he names Siri as his chosen successor to lead the family conglomerate. He justifies this controversial decision by pointing to her proven, independent track record. In just a few short years, she has built her own fashion venture into a remarkably profitable enterprise, demonstrating the acumen he believes the legacy company now desperately needs. Siri accepts the mantle, but on her own terms. She immediately states her intention to completely restructure the company's personnel and management, whom she identifies as the root cause of its recent financial stagnation. This bold pronouncement is a clear and direct challenge to her brothers, perceived as ineffective fixtures within the organization. Though visibly seething with opposition, neither brother dares to openly contradict their father's decree. The patriarch agrees to formalize the arrangement, scheduling a meeting at the company headquarters the following day for contract signings. Before confronting this new corporate destiny, Siri seeks solace and adrenaline in her favorite pastime, paragliding. An experienced and passionate enthusiast, she finds freedom in the skis. On this fateful day, she launches herself from a mountain peak, soaring with exhilaration until the weather turns malevolent. A powerful and unexpected whirlwind violently catches her parachute, hurling her off course. Concurrently, in a separate narrative thread, we are introduced to Han, a dedicated and principled officer in the North Korean military. While on patrol with his unit near the border, they are alerted by the sound of gunfire. Investigating, they discover soldiers from the south apprehending a group of northern civilians who had been illegally digging for historical artifacts. Han negotiates with the southern officer, successfully securing the handover of the detainees under the pretext that his own government will administer appropriate punishment. Later, reporting the incident to his direct commander, Jong, Han is taken aback. Jong reveals the diggers were not criminals but operated with unofficial state permission. Dismissing Han, Jong states he will handle the matter personally, signaling the first glimpse of the corruption festering within the system. Meanwhile, Siri regains consciousness to a nightmare. She's entangled in her parachute's lines, suspended precariously high in the branches of a tree in an unknown forest. Her manager and rescue team search in vain, unable to locate her. Isolated and terrified, she finds her radio communication device inoperative. Fearing a fatal fall if she attempts to free herself, she resorts to shouting for help. Her cries are fortuitously heard by Han, who is conducting a patrol in the vicinity. He follows the sound and discovers the stranded woman. Siri's initial relief at seeing a potential rescuer instantly curdles into dread as she recognizes his northern military uniform. To her horror, Han raises his weapon and orders her down. In her panicked descent, she falls directly onto him. Identifying herself as a famed South Korean fashion magnate, Siri mistakenly assumes Han has strayed into southern territory and warns him of the severe diplomatic consequences. Han delivers the chilling truth. She is the one who is lost, having been blown across the border into North Korea, specifically into a restricted military zone. Her explanation of a paragliding accident is met with suspicion, and Han moves to arrest her. Facing the prospect of imprisonment in a foreign, hostile nation, Siri makes a desperate bid for freedom, sprinting away. Han gives chase, warning her she is running into a minefield. In the process, he accidentally steps on a dormant landmine. As he attempts to use his radio for help, he loses his balance and the device falls into a stream. Siri seizes this tactical advantage, grabbing the radio. She proposes a tense bargain: she will return the communication lifeline if he allows her to flee. Han, trapped, agrees and directs her toward the border. However, distrusting him, Siri deliberately chooses the opposite path. Han is soon freed by an arriving soldier and immediately orders a search for Siri, with strict instructions not to harm her. His unit spots her fleeing, but she is now headed directly into a live minefield. Warning shots fired at her feet only panic her further, driving her deeper into the danger zone. Miraculously, she traverses it unscathed. Back in South Korea, Siri's family is embroiled in anguish. Her brothers consult with the leader of the search operation, who delivers the grim news that no trace of her has been found and the mission may be prolonged. Her parents watch the efforts from their car, faces etched with despair. In a revealing subplot, Hong's wife inquires not about Siri's fate but about the whereabouts of a con man named John, who has swindled Hong out of a significant sum of money. John, now safely in China, is seen checking into a hotel with his assistant, Choi, emphasizing his need for high-level security. It is revealed that John holds British citizenship and that his scam against Hong is an act of personal vengeance for a past financial betrayal committed by Hong's father against John's own family. In North Korea, Commander Jong interrogates the captured artifact diggers, revealing his corrupt nature. He strikes a sinister deal: their freedom in exchange for the locations of their digs. Once the information is secured, the men are released in a truck. In an act of cold-blooded treachery, Jong then secretly dispatches a large military vehicle fitted with a massive metal shovel, the same modus operandi used in past incidents, which brutally rams the diggers' truck off a mountain road, resulting in a fatal explosion. Meanwhile, Siri, exhausted and hopeful, stumbles upon a small village, believing she has finally reached South Korea. Her hope is crushed as the distinct surroundings and attire of the villagers confirm she is still in the north. As she processes this, a car carrying John approaches, but Han swiftly intervenes, pulling Siri out of sight before John can spot her and become suspicious. Siri, in a performative display of gratitude, lavishes praise on Han for this rescue. He sees through her act but is conflicted. Handing her over to authorities would guarantee her imprisonment. He makes a fateful decision: to hide her in his own home until he can devise a solution. The following morning, Han prepares breakfast. Siri, fearing poison, tries to defer by citing a fictitious southern custom of the host eating first. Han sees through her fear and reassures her of his intentions, stating that killing her would only compound his problems. She pleads with him, explaining her family's worry and offering a substantial monetary reward for his aid in returning her home. Their conversation is overheard by one of Han's soldiers, who arrives and speaks indiscreetly about a southern spy having disappeared, noting this is fortuitous as their unit would be punished if her capture was discovered. Han tries to silence him, but Siri has heard everything. She now understands Han is compromised. If she's discovered on his property, he and his men face severe reprisal. This mutual vulnerability forces a precarious alliance. Han's soldiers gather to brainstorm an escape plan. One suggests using his uncle's fishing boat, which makes trips to international waters, but the next voyage is 3 days away. Siri agrees to wait. Han warns her to remain indoors and unseen until then. At his military base, Han meets with Jong to discuss the artifact smugglers' deaths, urging a proper investigation into what he suspects is murder, especially given a pattern of similar incidents. He requests to lead the probe. Jong deflects, citing another department's jurisdiction but offering no objection to Han's involvement, a hollow gesture masking his guilt. Later, Jong communicates with a superior about a lucrative deal, providing safe haven for the international fugitive John in exchange for a large payment. John, meanwhile, meets his liaison, Choi, who outlines the terms: luxurious accommodation under constant guard. John signs the contract, entrenching himself in Jong's corrupt web. That night at Han's house, a power outage plunges Siri into darkness. Hearing an intruder, she arms herself, only to discover it is Han returning. Overwhelmed by the stress of her situation, she breaks down in tears, confessing she is unaccustomed to such hardship. Han offers awkward comfort, assuring her of her imminent departure and revealing he must travel to the capital for several days, leaving his soldiers to watch over her. As a small kindness, he gifts her a bag of toiletries. However, upon arriving in the capital, Han is abruptly arrested by military police on trumped-up charges fabricated by Jong. During a harsh interrogation where an officer threatens to frame him for any crime, Han remains stoic. The situation is dramatically reversed when the head of the military police, Sang, an old friend, bursts in, reveals Han's identity as the son of the army's powerful political bureau chief, and humiliates the interrogating officer. The furious officer later calls Jong, revealing Han's influential lineage. Jong remains unnervingly calm, recalling Han from childhood alongside his older brother Mu, also a soldier who died under mysterious circumstances. Han meets with Sang, confiding that his investigation into the recent deaths is linked to his brother's unsolved murder, which bore identical hallmarks. Sang advises him to let the past go, but Han is resolute. Back at the village, Han's soldiers, after checking on Siri, encounter Jong, who announces a routine house inspection. Noting their nervousness and learning they came from Han's empty house, Jong's suspicions are aroused. He decides to inspect the property personally. A soldier urgently alerts Han, who borrows Sang's car, a vehicle with diplomatic immunity, and races back. Inside, Siri, exploring Han's library, discovers he was once an accomplished pianist. Her reverie is shattered by Jong's forceful entry. Finding a still warm drink, Jong orders a search. Siri is discovered hiding and arrested. Han arrives to a gathered crowd and sees Jong aiming a gun at her. In a split-second decision to save her life, Han publicly declares Siri is his fiancée. The lie stuns everyone. When Jong demands identification, Han states she works in the highly classified military Sector 11, a claim Jong cannot challenge. Han escorts Siri inside, explaining the spy cover story he was forced to invent. The lie takes on a life of its own when village women arrive with congratulatory food, eager to meet the bride-to-be. Siri, slipping into her socialite persona, greets them graciously, solidifying the ruse. Meanwhile, at the airport, a young musician named Dono arrives, greeted by her uncle Sang. On her flight was John, who was instantly captivated by her. Choi warns him against such dalliances. Dono learns Han borrowed Sang's car and decides to retrieve it herself, revealing she is Han's long-term arranged fiancée, a relationship he maintains out of filial duty rather than love. Jong, intensifying his plot, orders an officer named Jonggi, who operates a secret surveillance facility, to spy on Han and the strange woman, seeking any pretext to destroy Han's family. Jonggi, burdened by a dark secret, agrees. 7 years prior, he had been complicit in spying on Han's brother Mu for Jong just before Mu was killed by a shovel-equipped vehicle. Now, coerced by threats against his own son, Jonggi installs listening devices near Han's home. While Han is away, his soldiers, one an avid fan of Southern pop culture, quiz Siri about dramas. Providing no useful intelligence to the eavesdropping Jonggi. Han, investigating the crash site, learns from a witness that the killer vehicle belongs to the Military Engineering Corps, and he traces the unique shovel to its manufacturer. In a parallel encounter, Jong meets John, who displays arrogance until Jong reminds him he is entirely at his mercy, capable of being extradited. John's demeanor instantly shifts to subservience. Jonggi, through surveillance, overhears Siri and Han discussing the fishing boat escape plan and reports it to Jong. That night, as Siri and Han board the vessel, a Coast Guard ship intercepts them on a tip-off about smuggling. Hidden below deck, Han improvises. When discovered, he and Siri are found in a staged, passionate kiss, posing as an engaged couple on a romantic fishing trip. The Coast Guard, convinced, orders them back. Siri is utterly devastated by this second failed escape. Han promises to find another way. The next day, Han finds a farewell note from Siri. He locates her at a cliff's edge, preparing to paraglide to freedom. He warns her that border air defenses would shoot her down instantly. Fearful, she abandons the attempt. Jonggi reports the boat incident to Jong, who becomes convinced of a genuine romantic entanglement, ordering continued surveillance. Later, in a market, Jonggi's wallet is stolen. Han chases the thief and is ambushed by his gang. Jonggi intervenes, saving Han. Retrieving his wallet, Jonggi finds within it a folded paper that evokes profound sadness and regret, a silent token of his past guilt over Mu's death. Dono, traveling to see Han, has car trouble. John opportunistically offers her a ride, deepening their acquaintance. That evening, village women inform Han that Siri got lost at the market. He finds her in the dark, holding a candle aloft as a beacon. A moment of quiet connection passes between them as they walk home. Han awkwardly reveals his engagement to Dono. Siri claims indifference, though jealousy is evident. They arrive home to find Dono waiting outside. Han introduces Siri as a colleague on a confidential mission. Siri tactfully withdraws. As Han drives Dono home, it is clear her love for him is unreciprocated, his commitment being one of obligation. John, having seen Siri with Han earlier, is now plagued by doubt, recognizing her from a past encounter in Seoul where Han had tried to arrange a marriage between them, which Siri had bluntly refused. Han devises a new plan. He will take Siri to the capital to procure a forged passport for her escape. Jonggi, listening, reports this to Jong, who now firmly brands Siri a spy. In the capital, Siri and Han check into a hotel, the same one housing John. John receives a threatening call from Han demanding his stolen money back. Before responding, he spots Siri in the lobby. Shocked, he asks Han about her, only to be told Siri is dead. Hanging up, John approaches Siri, leading to a tense confrontation where Han intervenes. Siri explains John is an acquaintance from the south. John insists on a private meeting, claiming important news. After leaving, John is chased by Hong's henchmen, narrowly escaping. Meanwhile, Siri explains her history with John to Han. Their intimate conversation is witnessed by a friend of Dano, who promptly calls her. A jealous Dano rushes to the hotel. On the rooftop, John finds a distraught Dano, comforts her about her unfaithful fiancé, and successfully charms her. That night, John meets Siri, claiming to be in town on business. Unbeknownst to her, Hong is on the line, hearing her voice and confirming she is alive. In a subsequent conversation with his aide Choi, who is revealed to be in covert contact with Hong, John learns Hong's new demand. Siri must remain in North Korea permanently. In exchange, Hong will forgive the debt. John agrees, and through Choi, commissions Jong via Jonggi to ensure Siri never leaves, offering a substantial bribe. Jonggi accepts, hiding his prior knowledge of Siri. On the scheduled departure day, Han, citing a work conflict, bids a heartfelt but restrained goodbye to a tearful Siri. One of his soldiers drives her toward the airport. En route, the dreaded shovel vehicle appears, blocking their path. Han, who had suspected a trap, arrives on a motorcycle and uses it to trigger an explosion that disables the truck. As he rushes to Siri, the driver emerges and opens fire. Han shields Siri, taking a bullet meant for her before returning fire and killing the assailant. He then collapses into her arms. Siri immediately abandons her escape, rushing the critically wounded Han to a hospital. Learning he needs a rare blood transfusion, she discovers her blood type is a match and donates her own blood to save his life. Upon regaining consciousness and learning of her sacrifice, Han finds Siri and confesses his deep love for her. Commander Jong arrives at the hospital to arrest Han, charging him with attacking a military vehicle and harboring a spy. Han counters that he was protecting his fiancée and accuses Jong of orchestrating the assassination attempt. Jong mockingly demands proof. As he orders the arrest, the scene is commandeered by the sudden authoritative entrance of Han's father, Chiang, the head of the army's political bureau. Jong is visibly terrified and snaps into a rigid salute. Chiang chastises him for attempting to arrest a severely wounded officer. After a humiliated Jong retreats, Chiang turns his formidable anger upon his son, berating him for his reckless, emotion-driven actions that continually jeopardize his position and safety. Han's mother, Hyun, attempts to intercede, but Chiang sharply rebuffs her. Hyun, fueled by a mother's fear and the unresolved grief for her elder son, fires back with fierce emotion, declaring she will not lose another child, forcing a moment of raw, familial confrontation that hangs heavily in the sterile hospital air. This intricate tapestry of corporate ambition, familial duty, corrosive corruption, forbidden romance, and geopolitical tension sets the stage for an escalating conflict where personal loyalties are tested, hidden agendas unravel, and the struggle for survival becomes inextricably linked with the pursuit of truth and justice. The intricate and emotionally charged narrative arrives at a critical juncture within the sterile confines of the hospital. In a moment defined by protective desperation, Siri makes a fateful decision. Believing her continued presence is the primary catalyst for the danger and political turmoil engulfing Han, especially after witnessing the menacing visit from Commander Jong, she reaches out to the only other person she perceives as a connection to her old life, John. Summoning him to the hospital, she requests an escape, a quiet extraction from the volatile situation she fears will irrevocably destroy Han's future. Placing her trust in his promises, she departs with him, retreating to the fortified security of his residence. There, John weaves a convincing tapestry of lies, falsely assuring her that he has established contact with her family in South Korea to confirm her safety, and vowing to orchestrate her legitimate return home. This calculated deception preys upon her vulnerability and her overwhelming desire to shield Han from further harm. Unbeknownst to Siri, this act of supposed self-sacrifice plays directly into the hands of multiple adversaries. Meanwhile, in Seoul, the public facade of the illustrious family fractures under the weight of prolonged uncertainty. Siri's father, his hope eroded by an exhaustive and fruitless search, makes a solemn and sorrowful public announcement, formally declaring his daughter missing and presumed deceased, a tragic epilogue to her mysterious disappearance. Back within the hospital's quiet corridors, Han awakens to a chilling void, Siri's absence. A visceral sense of foreboding propels him to the security office, where the cold truth is captured on grainy surveillance footage, Siri voluntarily departing in John's luxury vehicle. This visual evidence acts as a catalyst, transforming his concern into unwavering resolve. Disregarding his unhealed injuries and the profound political ramifications of his actions, he determines to find her and return her to what he believes is the safety of his protection. As he prepares to embark on this solitary mission, his path is blocked by Dano, his fiancée. Her demeanor has shifted from wounded confusion to bitter accusation. She has discovered Siri's identity through the glossy pages of an international fashion magazine, finally comprehending the formidable world from which this enigmatic woman originates. Dano confronts Han with a torrent of recriminations, accusing him of irrational obsession and of recklessly jeopardizing his life, career, and their shared future for a stranger. Faced with her anguish, Han responds not with defensiveness but with a painful, quiet honesty. He admits the irrevocable truth of his love for Ciri and his inability to abandon her, even as he physically turns away from the life and duty Dano embodies. Concurrently, within the opulent yet oppressive atmosphere of Jon's safe house, Ciri endures a tense dinner. Her thoughts remain tethered to Han and she wishes to contact him, but Jon expertly manipulates her protective instincts. He paints a stark picture of Han's inevitable ruin should she remain entangled in his life, emphasizing that her very presence is a toxic liability within the rigid political hierarchy of the North. Seizing upon her despair, Jon presents a cunning transactional solution. He reminds her of his valuable European citizenship, which grants him, and crucially, a legal spouse, significant freedom of movement across borders. He subtly proposes a marriage of convenience, a paper union that would serve as her passport home. Motivated by a misguided sense of sacrificial love and a desire to finally cease being the source of Han's peril, Ciri, in a moment of profound resignation, agrees to this sterile arrangement. This fragile pact is violently shattered by Han's dramatic intrusion. Employing decisive force, he cuts power to the compound and single-handedly neutralizes Jon's security detail, a clear demonstration of his unwavering commitment. Ciri's heart pulls her toward him, but Jon's insidious words echo in her mind, reinforcing the belief that her love is itself a weapon that will destroy him. Steeling herself against her own desires, she approaches Han and delivers a devastating rebuff. She informs him she will not return, explaining that Jon offers a lawful, clean path to repatriation, a solution that promises her safety without further collateral damage to Han's life. Han, a master of concealing profound emotion beneath a disciplined exterior, masks his heartbreak with a facade of relieved acceptance for her security and turns to leave. The sight of his retreating figure, however, proves an agony Ciri cannot withstand. Her resolve fractures. She commandeers Jon's car, pursues Han, and insists on driving him home as one final fraught gesture before their permanent separation. Fate, ever capricious in their story, intervenes once more. Their journey is interrupted as the vehicle runs out of fuel, stranding them in a desolate area. They seek refuge in a nearby abandoned house, where Han builds a fire against the encroaching cold. This unexpected, forced intimacy creates a temporary sanctuary, a silent, poignant night where words are unnecessary, and their connection burns as brightly as the flames in the hearth. Dawn reveals Han succumbing to a severe fever, a consequence of his recent gunshot wound and exertions. Ciri pleads with him to return to the hospital, but he stubbornly refuses, demanding only to be taken home. During this vulnerable interlude, Commander Zhang, having accessed the same hospital surveillance footage, violently confronts Jon. He accuses the conman of overstepping and jeopardizing his own designs. It becomes starkly clear that Zhang's ambitions have evolved. Capturing Ciri, whom he is now convinced is a high-value spy, represents an unparalleled career opportunity, a trophy that could elevate his power and status far beyond the financial bribes offered by Jon. He renounces their agreement and departs to hunt his prey. Following a tender moment where Ciri agrees to share a local holiday with Han, a simple trip to the market with the village women descends into chaos. She is ambushed and violently kidnapped by an unidentified gang. Shortly after, Han receives a harrowing, coerced phone call. Ciri's voice, strained under palpable duress, delivers a scripted message about returning home and urges him not to worry or search for her. Han instantly decodes the terror in her tone, recognizing it as a performance executed at gunpoint. He deduces her kidnapping and launches a frantic, yet ultimately futile search. That night, Zhang arrives to arrest Han, having learned from a vengeful Jon of their recent whereabouts. Han, who genuinely possesses no knowledge of Ciri's location, refuses to cooperate and is cast into a military prison. From within his cell, Han orchestrates a clever political gambit. He instructs his loyal soldiers to publicly disseminate news of his unjust imprisonment, strategically leveraging his father's formidable reputation as the head of the army's political bureau. The potential scandal of the bureau chief's son being unlawfully detained quickly generates the desired pressure, securing his prompt release. Dano visits him during his confinement. In their conversation, Han shares his deduction about the kidnapping. Zhang is not the perpetrator as he remains actively searching for her. Han's suspicion chillingly falls upon a far more intimate figure, his own father Chiang. Dano, possessing keen insight into the family's dynamics, confirms his intuition. She reveals that Chiang's motive is to permanently remove Ciri from Han's life, thereby clearing the path for his intended marriage to Dano and preserving the family's political standing. In a moment of poignant and dignified self-liberation, Dano declares her intention to vanish from Han's life, refusing to be bound to a man whose heart belongs irrevocably to another. A crucial clue emerges from an innocent source. Jonggi's young son witnessed the abduction. The boy presents his father with a small box containing a watch dropped by Siri during the struggle. Jonggi realizes it was intended as a gift for Han. This token of pure affection stirs the guilt festering within him, strengthening his resolve to atone. He vows to protect this information. Meanwhile, Han's soldiers execute a deft misinformation campaign in a public bathroom, loudly discussing the special protection detail for the bureau chief's son, ensuring the planted narrative reaches the ears of those who can expedite Han's liberation. Siri, meanwhile, finds herself a captive in a secluded, luxurious house, seated across from the imposing Chiang. Unaware of his true identity, she mistakenly believes him to be Dano's father, a man kidnapping her out of misguided protection for his daughter's engagement. In a disarmingly sincere and selfless monologue, she defends Han. She speaks only of his kindness in aiding her, his unwavering dedication as an officer, and her genuine wish for his professional success, never once hinting at knowledge of his powerful family or pleading for her own release. Chiang is profoundly moved by her evident, uncalculated love and her complete ignorance of his status. He begins to perceive her not as a predatory threat, but as a woman of authentic character. He orders her confinement conditions to be eased. Later, Han's mother, Hyeon, visits Siri. The encounter is emotionally charged. Siri's sole concern is for Han's well-being. Hyeon, touched by this selflessness, reveals her true identity as Han's mother and expresses her heartfelt joy at witnessing such genuine love for her son. She subsequently transfers Siri to a comfortable room within the household, a gesture of nascent acceptance. Han's strategic publicity campaign succeeds. His release is swiftly mandated by a senior commander eager to maintain favor with his powerful father. Han immediately storms into the family home, leveling accusations at Chiang. The confrontation is diffused when Hyeon enters with Siri, safe and unharmed. The profound, wordless relief that passes between Han and Siri communicates more than any argument. Han then makes a direct, heartfelt appeal to his father, to use his considerable influence to help Siri return home legitimately. Witnessing the undeniable depth of their bond and Siri's noble character, Chiang finally relents and agrees. On Siri's final night in the north, a moment of sublime connection cements the timeless nature of their bond. She plays a haunting, melancholic melody on the piano, a piece she heard years ago in Switzerland that once lifted her from a private sorrow. To her astonishment, Han not only recognizes it but completes it with exquisite skill. He reveals he was the pianist in Switzerland that day, playing the composition as a private tribute to his recently deceased brother. They realize, with a sense of awe, that their paths had tragically and beautifully intersected in a neutral land long before fate violently hurled them together in the DMZ. This revelation elevates their connection from one forged in crisis to one that feels predestined, a thread woven through their lives long before they met. The relentless political machinations, however, refuse to abate. Jong, consumed by ambition and spite, approaches Kim, the head of internal security and a known rival of Chiang. He presents fabricated intelligence alleging Siri is a spy sheltered by Chiang, offering Kim the perfect weapon for a political coup. Kim and Jong lead a heavily armed raid on Chiang's residence. A thorough, invasive search yields nothing. Chiang and Hyeon had expertly concealed Siri. To save face and maintain plausible deniability, Kim performs a brutal piece of political theater. He publicly strikes and humiliates Jong in front of Chiang, framing the entire incident as a regrettable overreach by an overzealous subordinate, before offering a perfunctory apology and withdrawing his forces. With the immediate threat neutralized, Chiang honors his promise. Han personally escorts Siri to the heavily fortified border. Their farewell is a silent, agonizing embrace, saturated with the pain of inevitable separation and the unspoken hope of an impossible future. Siri successfully crosses back into South Korea, where her sudden reappearance at her corporate headquarters triggers shockwaves. Employees who had mourned her are elated. She instantly reasserts her authority, interrupting a strategic meeting led by Hong's wife, dismissing the attendees, and coldly informing her sister-in-law that she is reclaiming her rightful position as the company's leader. In the north, Jonggi's burden of guilt becomes unbearable. He seeks out Han and delivers a cathartic, tearful confession. He reveals how Jong used threats against his wife and son to coerce him into complicity in the murder of Han's brother, Mu. He then provides the definitive weapon, a memory card concealed within the very watch Siri had dropped, containing irrefutable evidence of Jong's extensive corruption and murderous orders. Han immediately forwards the evidence to his father. Leveraging this proof, Chiang ensures swift justice. Jong is arrested, subjected to a trial, and sentenced to life imprisonment. Yet in a dramatic twist engineered by Kim to continue his feud with Chiang, Jong escapes during a prison transport. Vowing ultimate revenge, he flees south, targeting Siri as the most effective means to inflict eternal suffering upon Han. Jong stalks Siri to a downtown parking garage, but a timely intervention by her corporate security team foils his assassination attempt. As Siri walks through the bustling streets of Seoul, grieving the permanent loss of Han, she is struck motionless by a miraculous sight, Han himself standing before her. He explains he remembered the name of her street and had been waiting, hoping against hope for a glimpse of her. His urgent warning cuts short the joy. Jong is in Seoul and has come to kill her. Meanwhile, in the north, Chiang, fully aware of the escalating threat, mobilizes Jong-gi and Han's loyal soldiers. He orders them to cross the border covertly, tasked with protecting both Han and Siri, and promises to facilitate their dangerous passage. To keep Han close under a legitimate pretext, Siri formally appoints him as her personal chief of security. When Han tracks a lead on Jong's hideout, Siri, terrified for his safety, installs a tracking application on his phone. The lead is a deliberate trap, but Han fights his way through the ambush. Simultaneously, Siri encounters Jong in another garage. In her panicked flight, she drops her phone. Jong answers Han's incoming call, taunting him and luring him to the location. A tense, life-or-death game ensues in the darkened garage, with Siri using her knowledge of the space to guide Han verbally and thwart Jong, who is forced to flee upon the arrival of additional security forces. Adopting a ruthlessly pragmatic stance, Siri directly contracts a formidable local gang to permanently eliminate Jong. During a major product launch at a luxury mall, Jong-gi and the northern soldiers, visibly disoriented by the opulent southern environment, attract unwanted security attention. Han spots them, leading to heartfelt, emotional reunion. Siri welcomes them all into her home, hosting a generous feast. That night, she overhears Jong-gi urging Han to return home as his father is consumed with worry. The next day, believing she must finally release him for his own good, Siri tells Han she is strong enough to protect herself and walks away, masking her profound heartbreak. Unbeknownst to her, the treachery within her own family deepens. Her brother Hong is now secretly collaborating with the fugitive Jong, plotting Siri's murder to secure his own position. Returning to an empty, silent house, Siri assumes Han has heeded the call to leave and collapses in grief. She's then astonished by Han and his comrades, who reveal they had remained to orchestrate a surprise birthday celebration for her. Han draws close and makes a tender, timeless vow to celebrate her birthday every year, regardless of the continents that may lie between them. This fleeting happiness is soon obliterated. Jong-gi, on a supply run, is cornered by Jong, who renews his vile threats against Jong-gi's family. However, Jong-gi's loyalty has been permanently transferred. He immediately reports the encounter to Han, and together they devise a decisive counter-strategy to end the threat. Hong, acting as the insider, lures Siri with a false story of their mother's sudden illness. As she drives to the family estate, her vehicle is surrounded by Jong's men. Concurrently, Han, acting on intelligence, storms a warehouse where Jong awaits with a small army. A massive, two-pronged battle erupts. A flashback reveals Jong-gi's courageous refusal to betray Han and his full confession of Jong's threats. In the present, it is revealed that Jong-gi and the soldiers first rescued Siri from the roadside ambush before joining Han at the warehouse, their assault bolstered by the very gang Siri had hired. In the chaotic climax, Jong seizes Jong-gi as a human shield and attempts to flee. Han gives chase. Siri, following the conflict in her car, witnesses Jong aiming his weapon at Han. In a split-second act of absolute love, she accelerates her vehicle, placing it between the gunman and Han, and takes the bullet meant for him. Han returns fire, wounding Jong in the shoulder, but the criminal escapes into the night. Han, in a state of pure terror, rushes the critically injured Siri to the hospital. After days of agonizing uncertainty, Siri regains consciousness to Han's overwhelming relief. Jong-gi, ever resourceful, admits to having placed a listening device under her hospital bed to monitor her condition. This device inadvertently captures a far more sinister conversation. Hong and his wife, believing Siri to be comatose and unhearing, openly discuss their financial contract with Jong to have her assassinated. When Siri's family and a police investigator visit, she plays the damning recording. The revelation utterly destroys her father. He publicly disowns Hong on the spot, expelling him and his wife from the family and the company as the police take them into custody. Meanwhile, a recovered Jong, seeking a final, twisted revenge, contacts Hong's wife. He provides her with evidence of Han's true identity as a North Korean military officer illegally present in the South. She promptly betrays this information to the authorities. As Han finally tracks Jong down, he is himself surrounded by South Korean police. In the ensuing standoff, Jong attempts to shoot Han but is instantly killed by police fire. Han and his men are arrested, subjected to intense interrogation, and ultimately sentenced to deportation. Siri races to their prearranged farewell point but arrives late, watching in despair as Han and his comrades are processed across the border. Seeing her desperate figure, Han makes an impulsive, defiant decision. He turns back, crosses the demarcation line one final time, and embraces her, whispering fervent promises of a future reunion against all odds. The dangers, however, are not yet extinguished. During their journey back north, Han's group is ambushed in a remote forest by Kim's soldiers, sent to kill Han and thereby inflict a crushing final blow upon Chiang. At the very last moment, Chiang himself arrives with a loyal contingent, eliminates Kim, and rescues his son. In the aftermath, Siri discovers her phone filled with unsent messages from Han, each one a poignant piece of guidance and enduring love. Han, honoring the profound connection they forged through music, secures a transfer to the military band, a position that allows for international travel and thus a fragile thread of hope. Siri, unable to move forward, travels to Europe, seeing phantom glimpses of Han in every crowded street. The narrative concludes with a poetic and perfect symmetry. While paragliding over the serene European Alps, the very activity that began her incredible odyssey, Siri lands and becomes entangled in her canopy. As she finally pushes the fabric aside, breathless and frustrated, she is met with the impossible, wondrous vision of Han standing calmly before her. Their reunion, wordless and overwhelming, transcends borders, politics, and the very logic of their worlds. A silent testament to a love that refused to be defined or defeated by any division, bringing their arduous, intertwined journey to a close on a note of hard-won, breathtaking hope.